here, a training session with Shweiki Media. Everybody, I'm Ryan Dohrn, and I'm thrilled today to be talking about pricing strategies for success. You know, it's a very common topic that I get, not only from sales managers, but also from publishers alike. And it's an important topic for us to talk about because overall it's the most important piece of our business, how to weave sales together with how we're pricing our magazine and our multimedia products. And so the reason that it's such an important conversation is because, unfortunately, very often as we get to the overall pricing strategies, we work on pricing grids that we actually devise all by ourselves. And we never actually even take into consideration what else is happening in the marketplace, because very often we will base our pricing on our own personal assumptions. And for example, a lot of times I'll hear a publisher say, well, our magazine is better because we print on glossy. Our newspaper is better because we have better content. And what you have to understand is, with pricing and you're creating strategies for pricing success, you have to back yourself away from the overall picture. Back away. Talk to other people that are within your readership or your user group. You different than the competition? In what ways are you the same as the competition? And you need to price your strategies, put together a pricing strategy that makes sense from a sales perspective, meaning, can I sell this? Now, a lot of times folks will say, well, I don't want to be like the competition. I understand. And I'm not asking you to be like the competition. What I'm asking you to do is actually get accurate comparisons from your competition so you can actually set up a good reconnaissance program and also build a very good, solid competitive matrix or competitive grid. So how do you do that? One of the things I encourage publishers and sales managers to do is like to set up a recon email address and sort of a persona, if you will, as you try to communicate with competitors. Now, let me back up for a second. In some markets, you can actually ask your competitors, hey, we'd like to make sure that we're, pricing our products fairly so that we all can survive in this marketplace. And if you'd be so kind to send me your media kit, I would be happy to send you ours as well. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that it's highly unlikely that your competitors are going to say, sure, why not? Here you go. One thing to consider, though, as you begin to develop relationships with other sales managers and with other publishers, is the saying, the rising of the tide brings up all ships. If actually your comparables are pretty close, or if there's such a differentiating factor that you need to be a little bit higher, you can actually put a price comparison out there or a pricing structure out there to the general public, to general advertisers, that will make them actually potentially buy more media, which means might buy you in addition to the competition. But in terms of pricing, you really need to be very accurate and understand where your competition is at. And that's where building a competitive matrix or a competitive grid comes into the equation. Every publisher that I work with, and I'm blessed to work with 50 to 60 publishers every month in the consumer space, B2B space, newspapers, some TV, and some radio stations. So in the media space, I always ask every publisher and manager or ad director or station manager to put together a competitive matrix or a competitive grid. And what does that look like? In an Excel spreadsheet, we want to list out our competition. We also want to list out the multimedia offerings. What is it that they have to offer to advertisers? And then we go through and we want to compare everybody and see, are there weaknesses someplace? Is their pricing accurate? Pricing it way under the competition? But back to point number one, you have to set up a recon email if you want to get that data. Now, a lot of folks say, Ryan, I really feel like that's unethical. I'm presenting myself as somebody I'm not. I think gauge your own ethical barometer in terms of getting reconnaissance from a competitor and getting their price. How else might you do that? You could potentially ask one of your really good advertisers. You could ask them and say, hey, Bob, Julie, would you potentially share the pricing and what you're paying for media in my competition? That's one way. Set up a recon email address, a fake persona, if you will, to have that stuff delivered to you. What you need to do, you have to know the pricing. Guys, I'm amazed. On the phone or on Skype or whatever, or in person, working with publishers, that they actually know the pricing of their competition. They might have a general idea, but it's very inaccurate. So I really want to encourage you to identify who your competitors are and their pricing. Then a competitive matrix or grid. To do this is because you want to find out where they're weak, you want where they're strong. And what you're going to do is you're actually going to build, a company that's going to show you're better, why you're better value, why pricing structure is better, why you're the better media outlet for that advertiser to buy. Now, the price matrix is only as good as the data that you put into it, and so you need to keep that updated. It's really important that you assign this job to an administrator or to yourself, and you need to keep the pricing structure updated. If you don't, then what you have is outdated information. So a couple times a year, you need to revisit what the competition is doing and make sure that you update your competitive matrix, or what I refer to as competitive grid. If you're doing all this in your head, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're also doing your sales team a disservice as you're trying to create really competitive price structures. All right, is we actually need to train our sales team. Now, a lot of you are actually working people that have been doing this a very long time. And salespeople that have been doing their job for a long time often become very jaded. Now, I've met literally thousands of very, very highly qualified and winning sales reps. Folks that I've grown to really enjoy, I've grown to really enjoy working with, and also they're very good at that. Here's something important for you to understand. The longer that a person has been selling, the more be trained. Now, hold on. You might say, wait a minute, Ryan. That makes absolutely no sense. What are you saying? The more experience they have, the more training they need. It's true. It's actually very true. But what happens is the longer you do something, the more your blinders that you actually put on, the more tunnel vision that you actually get in terms of pricing and pricing strategies, because you've had success. And so just like a horse race, they put those blinders on the horses for a reason. And that's so that the horse only sees a very narrow path, and they're not looking at what. Very do you see a horse, a thoroughbred in the Kentucky Derby, that doesn't have blinders on their eyes, because the trainers and the jockeys don't want them looking over here at the competition and looking over here at the competition. Why? They want them to stay very, very focused. Salespeople that have been doing this a long time actually need to be better. They need to be more highly trained. They need to have a better competitive pricing matrix. Now, granted, all the skills they have over the years are so important to their success. But the longer you've been doing it, the more you need to be trained. Why? Because you want to go from good to great, or you want to go from great to phenomenal. Now, I'm not saying that your rookie salespeople don't need training. They definitely do. But don't sit back and think, man, John here's been selling for 30 years. He doesn't need any training. Really see your revenue grow, which is train those salespeople to know their competition inside and out. Accurately identify weaknesses of the competition, weaknesses that may have just recently popped up. Accurately identify your competition's strengths, because preparing for the war is part of the battle. Execution is everything, don't get me wrong, but you've got to be prepared. Several salespeople, they get highly trained with competitive knowledge and competitive information, are rock stars. They become actually superstars in the industry. Now, let's ask, how does your pricing really compare to the competition? Okay, if your pricing is higher, okay, what are you doing that is so different? And I air quotes. What is so different to justify a higher price? What is it? Now, maybe on a board or something you might want to write, what are the things that we do so much better than the competition? Now, it can't be as simple as, well, smaller size, we're a larger size. Is that really that big of a difference? Well, maybe their newsprint and you're glossy. Matter to your advertisers. Maybe not. Are you published on a different cycle than they are? Or do you come out at the first of the month and they come out at the end of the month? What is it that makes you so different? And I say so as a capital S-O. What makes you so different to just price? Remember something. In the end, I'm going to throw everything out. Except, they're going to focus in and they're going to basically spend a ton of time focusing on the price. So are priced higher, it has to be exceedingly clear what it is that you offer that's so different. In some cases, and we're going to talk about it in a minute, it's about value. It's about the value that you can bring for your other multimedia offerings. Now, you want to be ready when you're talking to advertisers. You want to be ready with rock-solid facts, figures, and success stories. Success stories are so important, and we've talked about it before. When you're pricing, and we're going to get to the nitty-gritty of pricing here in a second, when you're pricing, especially if your pricing is higher, sometimes if it's lower, you need to be ready with rock-solid facts and figures and success stories so you can accurately explain to your advertiser why your pricing is different. Now, based on price, maybe based on the type of media, they're really going to buy based upon, do they like you? Do they feel like you're telling them the truth? Do they feel like you're selling them the truth? Do they feel like you're going to take care of them? Are you creating a path of least resistance? As a publisher, when you help set this pricing with your sales manager and your sales team, I advocate having everybody involved. Because pricing strategies, if you set them and say, okay, sales team, go out and rock and roll, sell it all. Good luck to you. Well, if you're able to involve them from the very beginning, they might be able to say to you, whoa, hold on there, Ryan. Way that I can get $1,500 for that. It's not possible. Because competition does blah, 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 blah. Okay? So pricing structures, from a strategy perspective, I really like to have everybody in the room. I'd say, wow, Ryan, you don't know my sales team. If I had everybody in the room, we'd never arrive at a price. Well, that comes down to leadership. It does. I mean, flat out honesty. It comes down to management, your management style, and letting them understand that you want them to be involved in the pillars of sales success. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. Now, are you prepared with a comp grid to show why you are so much better? I mean, I advocate that my team sells with comp grids, showing why you are so much better than the competition. Now, competition does have a strong point. There's nothing wrong with you pointing out if the competition has something that they do very, very, very well. That you're not afraid, that you're fearful of the competition, and also that you're trying to be a very good consultative-based salesperson to that advertiser. Now, a lot of folks are going to say, time out, Ryan. I never want to bring up my competition. I'm never going to sell for my competitor. I have found if I'm able to point out where they're strong but where we're stronger, it actually puts me in a position where I'm really consulting them. Okay, I'm giving them all kinds of really great advice. What do you hear? Love to hear from my folks, also from advertisers when I'm working with them on a co-sales call, four-legged sales call. I love that. I really love this salesperson, because they're more than a salesperson to me. I love that. They're more than a salesperson. They help me with my creative. They help me with copy. They help me make really good, educated decisions. What we've talked about in the past as we're training our sales teams is when you call, you want them to take your call. You want an advisor to take your call. And if all you do is sell, and you really help them, all you do is sell, well, it's a lot more likely, let's just say this, that they're going to take your call when you really send a consultant to them, a media advisor. I love that term, media advisor. As a matter of fact, I may put that on my business card. I love it when a salesperson has on their business card, media advisor or account executive media advisor or something like that, because you really are advising them on the media that they should purchase. Now, granted, you always want your media to come out on top, but if all you do is sell your products, they might say, well, what if there is something else out there? And then what are they going to do? They're going to shop on their own. They're going to shop that pricing on their own, and you want that to happen. Now, one of the most common things I hear this literally every day, is my competition always discounts. They always go off rate card. They always discount. Stop for a second. I say, okay, guys, time out. Let's talk about this. When you say they always discount, what does that really mean? Okay, I need some accurate statistics. I need some information from advertisers. I need to know for a fact that you're in business. Now, don't make that assumption, okay? The other thing is some advertisers will lie to you. They say, well, so-and-so gave me a discount in an effort to get you to give them a discount. And so you need to be very, very accurate and make sure that you're not falling into what I like to refer to as a discount trap. Get accurate and get details, okay? So what you say to them is, okay, so, such and such magazine gave you a discount. Okay, how much was the discount? Let me see if I can work, within that percentage. And if it was 50% off, I think what I would say is, wow, that's a really good deal that they gave you. I can't fault you for potentially being enticed, by that deal. I don't know how long they can offer you that and continue to make money, for their magazine. All I can share with you is that our total value proposition is going to give you a lot more bang for your buck. So say they're discounting 20%. They might be discounting 20%. I'm giving you 50% more value and 300 times the exposure. See, I'm never scared by those questions. And as you're pricing and putting together your pricing strategies, you need to be prepared for the discount question. Allow your salespeople to come back and say, I didn't sell that one because such and such. The local paper gave them another discount. The local cable company gave them another discount. The other magazine in our market gave them another discount. Be prepared. Be prepared. Create a plan based on accuracy and then stick to the plan as a team. If you say, we are not going off rate card, fine, absolutely fine. I hear that all the time. Then where are you able to discount your prices? Where in your pricing strategy and good enough margins that you can offer discounts? So for example, offers Bob, your advertiser, 20% off the one-time 4-color rates, 20% off. You might be able to say to Bob, hey, Bob, I can appreciate them offering discounts. It seems to be the thing to do if you're struggling, or something along those lines. Just kind of a nice little, slight little jab there. But what I'd like to say is, listen, we don't go off rate card because we truly believe that we have one of the most competitive prices in print in the market. What I can do for you, though, is I can offer you a lot more on the digital side of things to make up for that discount. What did that mean to you, Bob? How much money did that save you? Say $200. No problem. I'll tell you what we'll do. On banner ads and in our digital edition, I will figure out a way to get that discount back for you, that $200 back for you. That is a pricing strategy. That, friends, is something that you don't have to have written down, but what do you need? You need sales reps that can articulate that, just the way I did right there. Look at time. Say an advertiser says to you that their competition has given them, Bob, the advertiser, a 20% discount. Hey, Bob, I can appreciate you wanting a discount. And so what I could do for you. How much of a discount did they give you? It says 20%. Okay, Bob, I can understand why that 20% will be very attractive to you. Here's what I can do. I actually offer you a discount on some of our digital products, as long as you're buying the print, can offer you a discount on our digital products, which is actually going to increase your overall exposure, and I'm going to save you that $200 or that 20%. What you take that 20%, you want to put a dollar figure. It's really important for you to put it into a dollar figure because dollars mean something to people. Percentages are there, but percentages are kind of out in the periphery, if you will. All right? You want to get down to the nitty-gritty on competitive details. I mean, really get down to the nitty-gritty and find out what does a discount mean to that advertiser, what does a discount mean to your margins, and you want to, as a publisher, okay, for the publishers that are watching this today, or the sales manager, you want to understand that there's a certain amount of flexibility that you need to give your sales team so that as they're putting together packages and proposals, okay, that they will actually be able to give that discount back to that advertiser in some capacity. So if you don't come off rate card, hey, I completely understand. Figure out another pricing strategy in terms of the discount to make it happen from a multimedia perspective. In terms of pricing strategies, one of the things that's so important is for you to show more value. You just have to show more value. Out of the price of the competition, structure everything so that you are showing that you are giving an advertiser more value. I'm going to show you to do that here in a second. All questions need to show more value. All your one sheets need to show more value. All your voicemails need to tell more value. You need to prove to them and show to them visually that they're getting a lot more bang, for the buck. Now, this is a pricing one sheet from one of my best customers ever. I've covered up their logo and stuff just to protect their privacy, but I like the grid that they've prepared here. to show more value. So again, folks, you're seeing like People Magazine and stuff on this grid. This is not from People Magazine. This is from a smaller publisher, very, very, very good publisher, and they're using competitive pricing strategies that I'm talking about today to their full advantage. Usually like this, what I want to do here is I really want to focus in on affordable media plans, okay? And this is where covers would go here. I really want them to choose a plan, something like platinum, gold, silver. Okay, I really want them to choose a plan. And what I focused in on, what is their total value? I actually make that total value maybe a little bit bigger. Their savings. The savings by buying this package from us is over $1,000. So print, a full-page ad, in full edition or digital edition, check, they're going to get that. They're going to get some social media mentions, okay, check, they're going to get that. Video in the newsletter, and they're going to be published in the blogs. That's awesome. What I'm focusing in, though, is the total value for the money. So that's worth $4,300. We're selling it to them for $3,200, and we're saving them over $1,000 by buying a package from us. It focuses in on total value, and it's on what? Simple. Path of least resistance. When you're putting together a pricing structure for this year or next year, what can you do to make the pricing structure as simple as possible for an advertiser to understand? The things that we're going to talk about in a minute is I'm going to talk actually in detail about dropping frequency pricing. It's an old school way of pricing print. It's been around for years and years and years, and anymore, big publishers are dropping frequency because it's just too darn confusing, because too many options out there. Now, more value. Okay, like I just showed you. Don't a la carte pricing. Don't say print ads $2,500, my banner ads $325, Be My e-newsletters $495. What I like to do is I like to bundle things together and not show a la carte pricing. It allows an advertiser to pull that out. Okay, I'm not necessarily saying you have to force them to buy everything. You can alter the pricing on your own. Show per unit pricing in terms of I can't buy it on its own. I'm not going to show you the unit pricing. It's a bundled package price to keep it simple. Higher value. I beef up digital based upon this. Okay, look at this example. If the price of a 4-color full-page ad is $2,500, I like to take it times 0.25. And that gives a number here of $625. Sorry, 2,500 times 0.25 is $625. What I do often is I will use that number to do a base price for my banner ads, and that's what I'll put in as my value for my banner ads. Most of you that are watching this seminar, workshop, webinar are probably pricing somewhere in the neighborhoods of $300 to $400, maybe a little less, or you're giving it away, which you should stop, by the way. Beef up the total value of the packages by just increasing the amount that you would potentially be charging for banner ads. That's how you can beef it up. One of the things that a lot of folks are doing, they're selling Facebook mentions on their Facebook page too cheap. Facebook mentions sell for approximately $125 per 1,000 fans that you have. $100 per fans that you have on Facebook. So it's important for you to beef up your pricing so the total value number goes higher. Okay, so if you look here on this gold package, the $26.25 probably has Facebook being beefed up. We'll raise the price on that. We price on the digital edition, which doesn't cost you that much, so that we can actually show our total value as a little bit higher number. Okay, so I beef it up. I don't beef up the print number. I actually beef up the digital numbers so they show more total value. Now, let's talk old school for a second, but your pricing has to look right. Look right. It needs to look correct. I've actually been very surprised at the number of publishers that actually price things at prices like $2,912, because they're basically doing a grid with a calculator. And does your pricing look right? Does it feel right? When you look back and you look at your pricing grid, does it look correct? Does it feel correct? You're using sort of that old school principle of, $2,400 look more expensive than $2,395. Well, if you don't agree with that, I encourage you to go to Barnes & Noble or whatever and buy a book on pricing structures, retail pricing structures. And what you're going to see is even today, okay, time and time again, retail pricing structures things in such a way that it appears to be a lot less, and it's really not. $23.95 is not that much less than $2,400, but if you say $23.95, it sounds less than $2,400. It just does. And say, "Oh, Ryan, that's an old school trick. Everybody sees through it." It's whether everybody sees through it or not. What it's about is price looking affordable, looking in line, looking right, making people feel better about the pricing. See, things that's important for us to pause to think about is the psychology of the advertiser. Today's day and age, unless you're dealing with an agency that's sometimes throwing money to the wind, love agencies, by the way, in dealing with them because they're pretty easy to deal with. Once you figure an agency out, I mean, they're not terribly difficult to deal with. And there's formulas for figuring them out. One of the things to remember is just the psychology of the advertiser. $23.95, just like $19.95, sells more than $20. $9.95 is a very common practice. $9.95. You see it on direct response ads that happen all across television. Now, if that wasn't the case, if it was a total gimmick, we're doing it time and time and time again. It's and repeat. If it works, do it. Now, you have a TV show lately been on television called Pitchmen. It's a guy that's name is Sully, Anthony Sullivan, and what he does is he's a pitchman like what Billy Mays used to be. And they actually bring in products and they price them and they watch how things sell. And just by adjusting one penny can make a whole difference in how many units they move. You might say, "I'm not a pitchman." I mean, we're not direct mail. We're not direct response ads. We're a magazine, and we need our pricing to look classy and on the mark and perfect. Okay, that's exactly what you're saying. But if your pricing doesn't look right to an advertiser, if it doesn't feel right, it's off, something's wrong, and you sell some, but adjusting could potentially help you sell more. So you may want to look at that in some great detail. Next, I always tell my salespeople that I'm working with that they need to stop apologizing. Because very often I hear them on a call, it's almost like they're, "Oh, well, the price is $2,600. Waiting till I get smacked, or something like that. It's so crazy. If facts, figures, and success stories to back up your pricing, stop apologizing or making excuses. I want to hear something like this. You get all of this for only $2,600, or you get all of this for only $25.99. What do you do? And the reason I want you to really think about that is because you can't apologize for your price or you're never going to make it happen. Stop apologizing for your pricing. Stop. Just like a little hand on the screen. Stop. You need to make excuses. You need to believe in your product, believe in your pricing, believe in your offering, and you need to pitch it in such a way. Charisma is very contagious. If you find yourself apologizing for a price, then you're doing a disservice and you're doing the entire sales process a disservice. Okay, pricing strategy. I know a lot of publishers and media companies that price their total ad buys per quarter. As offering pricing packages that allow the advertiser to pay over time is a great way to offset the initial punch of a big advertising campaign. So let's just say that they're going to run, in 3 or 4 issues, 3 issues in the first quarter. When the total campaign figure, they look at it and they're like, wow, $60,000, that's, a ton. And if you're a new customer, you might say they need to pay up front for the first, quarter or something like that. But you want to price it in such a way that makes it work for them. Like, for example, say in the 3rd month, they're going to run a lot more media, okay? What you can do is you can actually take the total number and divide it by 3, allow them to pay over the course of the quarter. What you also do is you might want to back ramp it, okay? It's called back ramping, okay? Just say that their total ad buy with you over 3 months, $10,000. You might say, in the first month, you owe me 2. Okay, then you owe me 4, then you owe me whatever to make up the difference. Okay, and what you're doing is you're charging them less up front and more as their campaign goes on. In a way, you're hoping the advertising is going to work. Okay, and them to be able to use the advertising to ramp sales. Now, in order to do that and to make it work, I think you need to be a company that's been around for a while with a proven track record. Okay, help and be in control of that creative. Okay. To check, your legal jurisdiction to make sure that you have rock-solid contracts in place in case they decide they're just not going to pay. Companies don't go out of business. They just decide, no, I'm not going to pay for my ads. So rock solid contracts in place. Check the legal jurisdiction of your contract, okay? If you're a national company, make sure you have to sue somebody. You know, you're going to be suing it within your jurisdiction to keep it affordable. Perhaps you want to make sure your contract says arbitration or mediation first. But overall, when it comes to contracts, I always advise people, consult with an attorney, make sure it's a rock solid contract. It's so funny to me, the number of publishers that their contracts are terrible. Their advertising contracts are terrible. I mean, literally, they don't have a leg to stand on if they after somebody for the money. If you price it out over the quarter, or if you're going to back ramp the pricing, you have a great contract in place, just in case you have to go over, to go after folks. All right. What we're going to talk about is creating co-op programs. Now, a lot of you that have been selling for a while, publishers, you've seen this, sales managers, you've seen this. Let me just use an example of, like a Toro lawnmower, okay? So let's just say you're a city and regional magazine. You go to a local retailer, okay, Bob, the local Toro retailer. For every $1 they buy from Toro's going to give them, say, 50 cents to put towards advertising. Well, the thing is, not all retail establishments have manufacturers or retail suppliers that offer co-op programs. So as a strategy, I often tell my publishers, media companies, hey, what I want you to do is I want you to create a co-op program. You need to go to the advertiser, and this is how it works, or to the manufacturer. Okay? So let's just use Toro as an example. As the sales manager, publisher, or whatever, I might go to Toro and say, listen, is I'd like to run a Toro ad in City Magazine or in our local newspaper or whatever. What we're asking for you to do is we're asking for you to pay for 3/4 of the ad, and we're going to get your local person to actually pay for 1/4 of the ad. And we're going to get basically a little co-op program for you. So you're advertising out of it, but that allows the local retailer to be actually buy ads, expensive ads in our magazine, because you're helping offset that cost. Now, you might say, well, gosh, Ryan, I mean, that's just so complicated. Folks, this has worked literally thousands of times. I've helped publishers, sales managers do this. Go to a manufacturer or to a retail distributor or to whomever and actually get them to pay for portions of the ad. The manufacturer or the retail distributor is going to get a ton of benefit out of it. Also, let's just say that you're in the town of Houston, Texas. You might have, say, 5 retailers that sell a product for a manufacturer, okay? In that case, you could go to the manufacturer and say, listen, if you'll pay for half the ad, I'll get 5 of your retailers to be mentioned in the ad. Marketing department will take it on for you. See, you have to come up with creative pricing strategies and creative programs for pricing that get advertisers excited. It also shows what? That you're going to bat. It shows that you're going to bat for your advertiser. You're trying to find them money. You're trying to find them ways to be a part of your pricing structure, to be a part of the programs that you have to offer. So with creative co-oping examples, it's a very great way to be able to offer competitive pricing. Now, I say that because most of the time it's like, whoa, what? Drop frequency, Ryan Dohrn, have you lost your mind? But this is the interesting thing. It's been done. And it's interesting most of the time if you hear somebody say that to you, no, we're not going to do that because that's the way it's always been done. Doesn't that grate against you? Isn't it sort of like nails on a chalkboard? Doesn't it make you say, on the way it's always been done? Remember something. We have a society that is confusing than ever before. People are more distracted than ever before. They have so many choices in everything that they do. I mean, when you go into Starbucks just to get a cup of coffee, I mean, you're presented with 90 different options. I just want a cup of coffee. That's all. Okay? Maybe you feel the same way. One of the things you might consider is which part of your frequency has the best margins for you. Frequency do you often sell the most? See, I've gone into some publications, and I say, okay, sales team. There's a broader group. Okay, sales team. Tell me, out of the frequencies that are listed, which one do you sell most often? Well, we usually sell, even if they're only buying one time, off the 6-time rate. Is that the frequency you use most often? Then why do you offer so many others? Well, my advertisers demand it. The more they run, the greater the discount they get. The thing. There was a day when I was print. And so So you need all this competitive pricing and pricing structures and frequency. You needed all of that because you had to get them excited about buying prints. So many more things to offer to them. So if a banner ad is not offered as at frequency, and a digital edition isn't offered as frequency, and if you're not selling your e-newsletter based on frequency discounts, then why do you continue to do it with your print magazine? You want to create what I like to call the path of least resistance. And one thing to remember is that 7 out of 10 advertisers that I personally spoke with, okay, at a large industry trade show, when I said, do you understand how frequency pricing is calculated? 7 out of 10, no. Okay, not. The rest of them, I think, lied because most people don't get it. What you're looking for in pricing strategies is the path of least resistance. You're looking at the path of least resistance for the advertiser to buy from you. And what does the path of least resistance usually look like, even in this picture? Sure, could you hike right up that hill, through the forest? What does the path of least resistance have? It's smooth, it's simple, it's easy to understand. You don't really have to make that many choices. It's all about creating a path of least resistance. Start creating sales offers that are easy to understand and that create a ton of value. In competition for offering discounts, that's why we're not getting it. You're doing something wrong. Something is wrong in your 4 pillars of success. Something is off, okay? Remember, we've talked about it before, 4 pillars of sales success. Do you have a good product? Really, do you have a good product? Ask the tough questions. If you do, move on to the second P. Sales process. What is your sales process? Do you have a sales process? Where in this process, if you were to write down the process, okay, on a whiteboard, and I do this often when I come in personally and work with publishers, I'll say, let's write down the process. It's 19 steps. Something confusing that even a smart cat like me looks at, guys, you've got to be kidding me. This is your process? 19 steps for an advertiser to run with you? I mean, that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So you've got a good product and your process is off, stops. Let's assume your process is right. So your product's good, your process is good. Evaluate your people. Are your people making a difference? Are they making enough calls? Are they enough meetings? Are they setting enough meetings, holding enough meetings, hosting enough meetings? Are they there on time? Do they dress appropriately? I mean, you really got to look through the people and say, do I have the right people on the bus? Do I have people on the bus? If not, and if you're the driver, I think it's time to start asking some people to get off the bus. Then, if you do think you have the right people, the last P in sales success is price. Try prices, pricing structures. Try to come up with things that allow your pricing to be a lot more simple. See, all 4 of those P's are not really in line. P and P. Product, process, people, and price. You're not going to have sales success. Not the success that you want. I'm sure if you've got a junk product, you've got a great process, great people, and a great price, you might be okay. Your process is mediocre, your people are okay, and your price is way wrong. You're just not going to see the success that you want to see. It's important as we roll through all of these processes and you're thinking about pricing strategies for revenue success that you take into account all of these factors. The thing about these webinars is that you have the opportunity to watch them over and over again. Review them with your sales manager if you're a publisher. If you're a sales manager, review them with your publisher. Perhaps sit down and present this to your sales team. That's one of the beauties about having access to these webinars. Pricing strategies, when I go in and work with a publisher and you actually go and you really get your hands around the pricing strategies, and if you focus on creating the path of least resistance, you can come up with a nice, beautiful little pricing package that advertisers will really gravitate towards. Webinar and watch it slide by slide again with your team and make sure that nothing in this process, okay, nothing in the 4 pillars is off. Those 4 pillars are perfectly in alignment. And that's where you're going to begin to see some really great revenue success. As a Shweiki customer, I'm happy to help you. If you have a question, email me. My email address is on the screen, ryan@ryandohrn.com. I won't charge you for those emails. And if you'd like to work with me in person or on the phone, as a Shweiki customer, I always offer to you 25% off all the services. That's my commitment to you. His commitment to you. See, being a customer of a great company like Shweiki Media allows you to have access to people like myself and the others that you hear on this webinar series at a discounted rate. And that's what I'm committed to you. I want you to be successful, in sales, and I want you to have pricing structures that make sense. As best of luck as your pricing structures this year. I look forward to more webinars with you straight ahead. If you have a topic that you'd like to see me cover, please let the folks at Shweiki know. They'll send it my way, and we'll be sure to weave you in to the conversation. Have a great day, and best of luck.